In the growing body of knowledge surrounding holistic wellness and preventive medicine, few organs have been as misunderstood as the stomach. Popular belief often paints stomach acid as a villain, the burning culprit behind discomfort and disease. Yet, recent insights challenge this view, shedding light on the vital, even life-sustaining, roles of gastric acid and other stomach functions. A fresh wave of awareness is now focusing on the stomach's remarkable, often underappreciated, ability to not just digest food, but to determine how well, or poorly, the body absorbs one of its most essential nutrients, vitamin B12. Vitamin B12, known for its role in energy production, brain health, red blood cell formation, and DNA synthesis, is a nutrient the human body cannot produce on its own. It must be obtained from animal-based foods such as meat, eggs, and dairy, or from supplements in cases of deficiency. Yet simply ingesting B12 isn't enough. The stomach must prepare this nutrient for absorption through a sophisticated biochemical sequence that starts with hydrochloric acid and ends with a protein known as intrinsic factor. This process begins with B12 in food being bound to an R protein, a binding agent that holds onto B12 until it reaches the acidic environment of the stomach. There, hydrochloric acid dissolves this bond, liberating B12 into a free form. Simultaneously, the stomach lining secretes intrinsic factor, a glycoprotein essential for B12's safe passage and eventual absorption. The two bind and travel through the small intestine until they reach the ileum, the final segment of the digestive tract. Only there, in that specific region, can B12, intrinsic factor complexes be absorbed into the bloodstream. A break in any part of this system can sabotage the entire process. If stomach acid is too low, the B12 cannot be released from food proteins. If intrinsic factor is lacking, the B12, even when freed, cannot be absorbed. Without proper absorption, no amount of B12 supplementation or dietary intake will correct the deficiency. The nutrient will simply pass through, unused and unabsorbed. This has enormous implications, particularly for those experiencing unexplained fatigue, nerve issues, brain fog, and mood swings, common symptoms of B12 deficiency. Ironically, many people suffering from these symptoms are unaware that the problem may not be nutritional at its source but rather mechanical, rooted in how the stomach functions. Adding to the confusion, B12 deficiency can take years, even decades, to manifest, thanks to the body's capacity to store B12 in the liver and recirculate it through a system called enterohepatic circulation. One of the most telling signs that the stomach is not producing sufficient acid is a lingering feeling of fullness long after eating, sometimes even 6 hours post-meal. Rather than being too acidic, the stomach in such cases is not acidic enough to break down food efficiently. Proteins and fats sit undigested, fermenting and generating gas, bloating, and discomfort. In this environment, the root problem is not excess acid, but insufficient acid production. This insight flips conventional wisdom on its head. When people experience heartburn or acid reflux, they often assume they are suffering from an overacid stomach. Yet, the symptoms they are experiencing, burning, sour taste, regurgitation, may not stem from excessive acid, but rather from weakened function of the lower esophageal sphincter, also known as the cardiac sphincter. This sphincter is the muscular valve that separates the stomach from the esophagus. When working correctly, it remains closed, even when the stomach churns with highly acidic content. But when weakened, this valve opens, allowing acid to escape upward. Gravity and pressure play roles here. Eating large, heavy meals, especially in the evening, followed by lying down or reclining, increases the likelihood of pressure on the valve. Over time, the muscle weakens further, unable to remain tightly shut when needed. There is also a hidden villain in the modern lifestyle: stress. Chronic stress causes muscle tension throughout the body, including the muscles that control the cardiac sphincter. This tension can paradoxically force the valve open, allowing gastric juices to travel back up into the esophagus and causing the familiar burning sensation often misinterpreted as too much acid. Understanding this mechanism leads to surprisingly simple and effective remedies. Changing meal patterns, such as making breakfast the most substantial meal of the day, followed by a moderate lunch and a light evening supper, can dramatically reduce pressure on the stomach during sleep. This pattern not only aids digestion but also honors the body's natural circadian rhythms, which align digestive strength with daylight hours. At night, when the body shifts into repair and rest mode, the digestive system naturally slows down. Asking it to digest a heavy meal during this phase is counterproductive and burdensome. Another natural aid is magnesium, a mineral critical for muscle relaxation, including the muscles of the digestive tract. Supplementing magnesium throughout the day helps maintain proper sphincter tone and reduces the likelihood of acid escaping into the esophagus. The result: fewer reflux episodes, improved digestion, and a reduction in reliance on pharmaceutical interventions. And it is here that a more troubling concern arises. The widespread use of antacids and acid blockers may be treating the symptom while exacerbating the cause. These medications, while providing temporary relief, suppress stomach acid production, exactly the opposite of what the body needs for optimal digestion. By neutralizing or blocking acid, they prevent proteins from being broken down properly. These partially digested proteins then pass into the large intestine, where they become fodder for bacterial overgrowth. This overgrowth triggers a domino effect. The gut, faced with an unexpected influx of improperly digested matter, increases bacterial activity in an attempt to compensate. But this creates a new problem. These bacteria can damage the intestinal lining, leading to inflammation, permeability issues, leaky gut, and, according to emerging research, even a heightened risk for conditions like colon cancer. Essentially, what started as an effort to control symptoms ends up harming the very organ it aimed to protect. Long-term antacid use thus becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. The more acid is suppressed, the more digestion is compromised. The more digestion is compromised, the more symptoms arise. It's a vicious loop that many have been caught in for decades without resolution. Simply put, if a treatment is needed for 25 years, perhaps the problem isn't being solved at all. In response, a movement toward natural healing and stomach restoration is gaining momentum. It emphasizes restoring acid production rather than suppressing it. Drinking sufficient water, particularly between meals rather than with meals, supports the mucosal lining that protects the stomach from its own acid. That mucus layer, composed largely of water, acts as a buffer and a shield. Without proper hydration, the mucus thins, leaving the stomach vulnerable to irritation. Supportive measures also include eliminating irritants such as processed sugar, dairy, and gluten from the diet when needed, particularly for those with sensitivities. Eating whole, unprocessed foods and incorporating fermented products can support the microbiome. Probiotic-rich foods like kefir, sauerkraut, and miso replenish beneficial bacteria, while prebiotic fibers from vegetables like asparagus, garlic, and leaks feed those good microbes. A healthy gut microbiome helps regulate digestion, inflammation, and even mental health. Physical posture and movement play roles as well. Adopting a squatting position during elimination aligns the body's anatomy for easier bowel movements and less strain on the colon. Gentle exercise, especially yoga and stretching focused on the abdominal and pelvic regions, can aid in motility and sphincter tone. Breathing deeply and reducing stress through practices like meditation further enhances digestive capacity. These lifestyle shifts may sound simple, even too simple, in an age accustomed to high-tech solutions and pharmaceutical fixes. But often, the body's most profound healing mechanisms are accessed through the foundational acts of eating, moving, resting, and breathing with intention. At the center of this new perspective is a call to respect the stomach, not as a problem to be medicated, but as a powerful organ whose proper function is integral to vitality. When it's working well, digestion becomes seamless, energy levels stabilize, and nutrients like B12 reach their full potential. When it's ignored or suppressed, a cascade of issues can quietly unfold. The broader message is clear: stomach acid is not the enemy. In fact, it is one of the body's most crucial allies. By nurturing this internal fire and supporting the conditions in which it thrives, individuals can reclaim a sense of health and ease that has been lost in a culture too quick to silence symptoms without asking why they exist. In the end, better stomach health is not just about avoiding indigestion. It is about creating the conditions for the entire body to flourish, cell by cell, system by system, through the gateway of the gut. The journey to wellness often starts not with what we add, but with understanding what we already have, and how to help it work better. So now you know, stomach acid isn't your enemy. It's actually your body's unsung hero when it comes to digesting food, absorbing vital nutrients like B12, and keeping your gut healthy and strong. Instead of suppressing your symptoms with quick fixes, try supporting your digestion naturally and listening to what your body is telling you. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and share it with someone who's been struggling with digestion, fatigue, or unexplained symptoms. It might just help them uncover the root of the issue. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into health, healing, and the science behind what really keeps us feeling our best. Your health starts with awareness. Keep asking questions, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.